Hello everyone, welcome back. This is part 2 of a multi-part series, Da Nang, a virtual tour. We are going to pick up right where we left off. Fisherman's Harbor will be on the left, which you can see here, and then Da Nang Port and the Bay of Da Nang will be on the right. We're in a rather barren area of Da Nang here, with the port at the base of the mountain and the estuary of the Han River and Da Nang Bay all to our right. There isn't much in this area. You'll see a few tall buildings here and there, which mostly are hotels that cater to the port and to the businessmen and women that come in and out of the city. If you'll notice the image in the corner, the star marks roughly where the video began. Where we're at now, and you can see our home, of course, and just to the right of the star is Fishermans Bay and the port, which runs the length of the mountain and the bay. The large peninsula that is Son Tra and its mountain of the same name was an island about 1,000 years ago. Silt from the river has slowly built up the peninsula and eventually connected it to the island mountain. The Han River originally flowed directly into the Eastern Sea, though now it deposits into the bay. Large amount of silt brought down from the monsoon from the mountains every year is causing the bay to shrink a little bit every year, and eventually the bay will fill up in another 1,000 years or so. Going through another roundabout. And again, you can see there's just not a whole lot here. A lot of the area to the right is actually protected. The mountain itself is also protected. There's actually a couple of endangered species of monkey that live on the mountain. Red-shanked duocs. Up ahead, we'll see what is the largest bridge in Da Nang. And we're getting ready to go across it. It's the Thuan Phuc Bridge. It's a 2-tower suspension bridge. It opened in 2009. Stands 260 feet in height at its highest point and stretches out about 6,070 feet over the mouth of the Han River and the estuary. We'll cross all the major bridges of Da Nang in this series. One thing you will notice is that they are all relatively recent construction projects. In fact, the first bridge to cross the Han River onto Son Tra Peninsula was constructed by the American military in 1965. Shortly after 9th U.S. Marine Expeditionary Force landed at Mai Kay Beach in Da Nang. These would be the first U.S. combat troops to arrive in the country. The Cao Nguyen Van Troy Bridge was constructed to gain access for American troops from the beachhead to Da Nang Airfield on the mainland. The picture below was taken on that day as the first Marines made their amphibious landing. You can notice the Son Tra and the Monkey Mountain in the background. There you can see Son Tra as well here. And then there's actually quite a number of boats out in the bay today. There usually aren't that many, but the port's been closed a lot recently because of all the bad weather. Had a couple typhoons come through and some tropical storms, so they're all lined up out there trying to get in and out of the port before the next storm comes in this week. You can see the Hoi An Pass out there in the distance. It's kind of foggy today, but it's out there. As we come down off the bridge, the road changes, and now it becomes Nguyen Tat Tan. This coastal highway will hug the bay from the Han River all the way to the Cu Day River on the far side of the bay. Just past the Cu Day River is the base of the Hoi An Mountain Pass, which you can see the mountain range in the distance. And here you can see a picture that I took standing on the beach not too far from here, looking down across the bay to the north at the Hoi An mountain range. This area that we're getting ready to go into, you can obviously see the more buildings in the foreground in the distance. We're getting ready to head into the main part of the city, the downtown area. We'll go by the airport here shortly. In this area, you will also know that the traffic will start to pick up and things will get much busier. Here we'll come off the bridge into another roundabout. Love our roundabouts. Now this is a good time to talk a little bit about the rules of the road in Vietnam. It's challenging, to say the least. Pay close attention throughout the video as people pull into the road. You'll notice that they never look back at me. essentially, if you're driving in Vietnam, anybody that's in your field of vision has the right of way of you. And anybody that's out of your field of vision, you have the right of way of. So essentially, motorbikes are notorious for just pulling into the road because once they get in front of you, they have the right of way. So that's another reason why people don't drive very fast here. But it can get a little difficult sometimes when there's a lot of traffic and people they're just going straight into the road and never look, and occasionally you'll see an accident. Now this is a typical 3-lane setup, as is Asian Highway 17 that we were on in the previous video. Actually, up here you'll see a wreck where, and this is weird, I don't know how this could have possibly happened, but the guy's not even going in the right direction, so he obviously does not know what he's doing. So right now we're still hugging the bay, so the bay is going to be on the right. And again, this is the traditional 3-lane setup. The far right lane is for motorbikes, the middle lane is mixed, and the far left lane is for four-wheel vehicles or more. Now, there's cars parked here in the motorbike lane, which are not supposed to be here, but people often do things they're not supposed to here in Vietnam. It's just the way it goes. I mean, if you got to park, you got to park. So there's a kind of a large construction site here to the right. There's a little bit of a patch of land right here between the beach of the bay and the road. So they're doing a lot of construction over there. I think they're getting ready to put up another resort. There's resorts going up everywhere in Da Nang. But shortly up here, the road will go actually onto the beach itself, and we'll be right there. Again, more cars parked illegally. And here's a little parking area. You'll see a lot of buses and stuff. That means we're getting a lot closer to the actual beach area. Now, most of the buildings on this side of the bridge, this would be the mainland side of Da Nang, are relatively, it's going to be the older section of town. You see a lot of older buildings here. When we get back to the peninsula side, the side that we live on, across the river, you'll start to see a lot more newer construction, and just a lot of construction in general. So there's the beach. The road, actually, it's probably maybe 100 yards to the water, depending on whether the tide is in or out. I think Jim's going to pan over there. There's a little bit of brush right there, but yeah, the beach is right there. You can see a lot of the just kind of sandy over there. There's a lot of park space on the beaches around Da Nang. This would be something for another video, but property in Vietnam is public. Of course, you can buy rights to essentially use of land, but technically you never own it. So what happens is anything that's not used, that's not being paid to be used, is public property and can be used by anybody. So you'll see a lot of the times if there's an empty lot that's not being used and have a building on it or anything, people will go in there and start gardens and sell produce at the market, or build a little shanty shack to live in. I mean, it happens. There's actually one across the street from our shop where it's an empty lot. There's several nice hotels and apartments around it, and then there's this little tin roof hut in the middle. I'll take a picture and put that up in the corner here in a second. So we're getting ready to turn, so you can see that I'm actually getting over into the far left lane because there's a turn lane coming up that I'm going to pop into. And so here, this is going to be Hoi Road, but as soon as we cross the first cross street, it's actually going to turn into Hahotep. This is a classic Da Nang City neighborhood. You can see the Joy De Dong at the corner. It's just basically a Sears. It's got washing machines, air conditions, kitchen appliances, whatever you want. So the classic Vietnamese or Da Nang City neighborhood, it's tight, it's busy, can get a little crazy. And again, as we go through this neighborhood, pay attention to everyone that pulls out in front of me. None of them will look back to see if I'm coming. And that can get a little crazy sometimes. I've learned to not get frustrated, but sometimes it's a little scary. Especially when, you don't really get up to too high speeds here, and so it's not that big of a deal, but it gets a little freaky sometimes. So this guy is going to turn left, or actually, I'm sorry, he's going to turn right, the truck. So, but he's in the left side of the lane, so we're going to get through past him, and now he's going to turn right, which is behind us. A few meters up ahead, we're going to come to a railroad crossing. There doesn't seem to be much regulations on the tracks here. Everything is public property again, so people build almost to the actual track. There are many famous shots around Vietnam of trains riding through neighborhoods. And every crossing section is manually operated, so there'll be somebody that comes out and actually physically rolls the gate over the intersection so people can't cross, and they'll physically monitor and wave the train by as he comes through. And I was actually able, at this very intersection, set up a camera and get a nice little time lapse of a train coming through, which I'll show in the corner. So yeah, again, this is just a pretty typical city neighborhood, with people just kind of going about doing their thing. So up ahead, we're going to get to an intersection to one of the major thoroughfares in Da Nang. And you got to see here, I've got to actually kind of get in the other lane to get around these cars to make a left-hand turn. And this is going to be Dien Bien Phu. If I had taken a right, I would have gone to the New Mother roundabout, as well as the Na Ba Hue interchange, which would lead to the Hai Van Tunnel and the Hai Van Mountain Pass. But I'm going to take a left, and we're going to head into the heart of downtown Da Nang, and that pretty much ends this video. Stay tuned for more on our virtual tour of Da Nang. Smash that like button and subscribe for future videos. Next up will be bustling areas of downtown and the Hai River Bridge, and we will see you then.